and welcome back to another episode of Executive Spotlight. My name is Camille Renner, and I am the Associate Editor of AutoSuccess Magazine. Today, we welcome to the studio a very special guest, Russell Hill from FixedOPS Marketing. Russell is the co-founder and managing partner of FixedOPS. Welcome to the studio.
Well, glad to be here. I'm looking forward to this.
Me too, yeah. I'm definitely looking forward to learning more about your thoughts on marketing trends in the industry and how your company can help dealers. So before we get started, can you just tell me a little bit about how you found yourself in the auto industry and maybe how your company fits in a dealership?
Okay. So this is 1968. Some of you may remember that Hot Wheels came onto the scene, and I got into Hot Wheels, the red lines and cars. I became really enthusiastic with cars. 1985, so 37 years I've been in the business. I got into business selling cars, ended up running dealerships until late 99, beginning in 2000. Then I transitioned to the vendor space. Was partners in a CRM company for about 11 years and sold my shares of stock back and bought into another technology company, did websites. Gave that 9.5 years, and then those are both existing companies. This is a different deal. So about a month before COVID hit, we established a new company, partner and I, we founded FixedOPS Marketing. So we're the original video coupon and full service marketing solution. Everybody's watching videos, right? Over 80% of all consumer consumption is video based. So we started selling this a month before COVID hit, and then COVID, right? It's like everybody flatlined. Well, dealerships shut down everywhere except service. It was essential. So our company continued to explode. So we're a little over 30 months old and just hit it at the right time. Unfortunate circumstances, but people are starting to wake up about marketing and fixed operations. And the chip shortage even exacerbated that. And it's even, everybody's talking about fixed operations. Maybe it's because it's my company. I don't really know. But fixed ops is a big thing to talk about.
Definitely. And I'm very glad you mentioned video because that's something I do want to talk about today. Can you tell me a little bit more about how dealers can use videos on their websites to improve the customer experience for parts, service, or even just car shopping?
Absolutely. So when my partner and I decided we wanted to know what the next big thing was. Well, with the automotive background that I have, we needed to solve a fundamental challenge that every dealership has, whether it's front end or back end, doesn't make any difference. Everybody's wearing multiple hats, like you wear multiple hats around here, and everybody out there but everybody wears multiple hats. They don't have time. For the most part, the vast majority of general managers come from the sales side, so all the widgets, all the tools, all the funnels, everything that the dealership needs for their website for marketing purposes, the website is where everybody goes. This is where all four of the dealership's profit centers are located, new and used, and parts and service. So they got the 360 videos and all the cool widgets and stuff. But if you look, even today, you can go to a dealership's website. If you can find service, parts, and accessories, which is service makes the money anyway. But if you look, you can still see, if you see anything, here's what you see. No specials at the time, under construction. Handful of static images that serve no value. Customer can't do anything with it. Or there may be a link to schedule service or to print the coupon. Well, today, technology is everything. People don't mind reading, but if they can watch a 50-second video clip that explains something like YouTube or whatever, right? They would rather do that than read a 5 or 10 minute dissertation that's not going to get any eyeballs on it. So we wanted a presence with fixed operations on the dealership's website, and we wanted to talk about inactive customers and active customers, but we also wanted to talk about the services customers don't know. We take for granted they know the difference between let's say a conventional or a semi-synthetic or a full synthetic oil change. They don't. They don't have any clue. So in each and every one of our coupons or specials, we have explainer videos that educate the consumer. And then we solved that challenge I alluded to a minute ago with all the multiple hats. Everybody understands marketing and websites are important, but nobody has time. So once our stuff goes live, it runs 24/7, 365. Technology, it's amazing, which obviously this is phenomenal here. But I was talking to a gentleman not too long ago. His name was Glenn Lundy, and he was talking about how technology has evolved from 1922 to 2022 over the last 100 years. And he said the next 5 years, technology is going to move that same 100 years. You know, virtual reality, augmented reality, you name it. Artificial intelligence, blockchain, all the new stuff's coming down the road. So dealers are just at right time at the right place. Dealers are rethinking everything because the average life, which I'm sure we'll get to, vehicle on the road is over 12 years old. So we wanted a presence on the website that would capture, engage the customer in a way they've never been engaged because it hasn't existed before now. But we wanted the automation. So even the coupons have an expiration date, defaults from the beginning to the end of that current month instead of 6 or 9 months down the road, or you can't do it. It's an enormous opportunity for marketing. It's fixed operations. And that's why we got into this business.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, sounds like you're offering a great product for dealers. Going back to what you were saying about dealers wearing so many hats and having less time than ever before, probably, some dealers may be hesitant to add a new product or marketing service just for lack of time and fear of not having the time to implement it correctly. But with what you were talking about with AI and automation, does this hold weight? Do these actually save dealers time? Absolutely
yes, and absolutely no. It really just depends. There's a lot of great products out there for the front end and the back end. Dealers get pitched all the time. All kinds of new technology stuff. It's designed to make their life easier. In fact, it's not always the case. Because of the multiple hats they wear and the fact that they don't have any time, they see something, it looks great. You do this, you get these results. For the most part, that'd be true. But everybody I talk to has at least anywhere from 4 to 8 different usernames and passwords for different products, and only 2 or 3 they actually even access or use. Therein lies the challenge. If 3 months later the controller's going, what is this $1,200 we're paying for? Oh, that doesn't work. It does, but part of what there was a responsibility on the dealer side. They needed to make sure that somebody for 15 minutes a day or an hour a week was able to manage that so they could get the desired results. But they don't do that because they don't have the time. So we took that all out of the equation where they don't have to do that with the stuff that we do.
Great. Well, thank you for sharing that. I'd like to move on to talking about social media a little bit.
Go ahead.
So dealerships obviously have a lot of moving parts, and a lot of those moving parts look good on social media. And a lot of dealerships have found success in large social media followings. Can you tell me a little bit about how dealers can transfer social media views and followings into actual sales?
Well, sales and or service. So everybody has Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube for the most part, particularly the major metropolitan stores. They're all involved in that. That's something, again, they're not managing it. Or they have an advertising marketing company that's supposed to be, but it's mostly for the variable side, which works great. On the fixed side, not so much. There's not much there. There's not any calls to action. Somebody has to manage it. Is there search engine optimization part of it? Is there calls to action where that customer can actually interact? They can like, they can share, they can love, or they can go directly to that particular. Here's the thing. More is not more. Less is more. And you want to be able to attract and attain customers in a way that dealerships really haven't looked at before. I don't care if you're 18 or 80 years old. Having a print feature or to go to a page that there's nothing there is an enormous waste of money, and dealers are starting to figure that out. So even our stuff and a lot of other companies have similar types of things where it interacts. So our stuff pushes to Facebook and YouTube and Twitter and Instagram, and it requires the dealership they don't have to manage it at all. So now they also have a fixed operations presence as well as a sales presence. Most of the time you see incentives on new vehicles, happy customers that just bought a vehicle, but beyond that it's just a page that you can like. Well, you can actually market to your social media platform in ways now because of artificial intelligence and all the other things that are available.
Awesome, yeah, and a huge part of regaining profits post-car sales is driving customers back to service post-sale. And like you said before, the average vehicle on the road is 12 years old, so service is more important than ever, possibly.
Than ever, yes.
But the average customer defection tends to take place in 36 months after sale.
It does.
What do you think about that? How can dealers get customers to come back after that?
You hear a lot about that. You hear about all the EV stuff today. Oh my God, it's going to change everything. We're not going to be. I remember back in 1996 when Westsize first came on the scene, and this company called AutoBytel had these internet leads. You had to sign up for them. You had a protected territory, and they were gold back then. But the sales department thought, oh, we're going to shut the doors. Everything's going to be internet. Nobody's going to. Same thing with EV. Everybody's freaking out about EV. It's still years to come. There's a lot that needs to be figured out before that actually even happens. In the meantime, why don't you spend a little more time focusing on your active and inactive customers and stopping that defection, and it really won't make any difference. EVs are going to need service too. They're just not going to need oil change, et cetera, and some others, but they're still going to need service. They're still going to need to come in dealership. But there has been a mass defection at 36 to 39 months, which seems to follow about the time frame of when customers are due for tires. And dealerships have been sleeping at the wheel, so much so that there are 16 non-franchise entities that surround every one of these franchise dealers. Not my numbers, NADA says that. It can be Firestone, Valvoline, Goodyear. They know it. They dominate the paid, they dominate the organic listings because they know dealerships are sleeping at the wheel. COVID has changed all of that. The pandemic has changed the thinking. There's a lot to grasp and get a hold of when it comes to the pandemic. But they're starting to figure it's all about the customer journey and the customer's experience. They feel locked in, and we make them feel that way. That's changing. There's a paradigm shift taking place right now about advisors meeting the customer where they're at, doing a better job at explaining and folks. I said this earlier. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Okay, you got families coming in these minivans and SUVs, and they're coming in for the same stuff over and over and over again, or they don't know how to handle. Customers don't understand what's going on. They think you're just there to sell me this stuff. So at 36 to 39 months, they leave and end up going somewhere else. That would be offset if they would just consult them and advise them and properly set up the tire situations, which a lot of dealerships are starting to pay attention to. Market to those people. In a way, customers love getting specials or coupons about things that are due. But when you have 75% of all consumers daily coming in for oil changes and rotates and balance, they do that for the 3 years and then they take off and go somewhere else because they think it's cheaper. Now that I don't have to get locked in and I get the free oil changes, or where it's cheaper to go to a Valvoline or a Firestone or a Goodyear, Pep Boys, or whatever the case may be. But in fact, it is not. It's just it's this thinking, this mentality. We drove them there, and now we're taking them back.
So why do you think dealers are not pouncing on the opportunity to, for example, the tire changing? What was holding dealers back from retaining those customers?
Trial and error. They tried this several years ago. It didn't work because they couldn't make money. That was the big complaint. The speed of the pack is set by the leader. The buy-in has to be at the top, and there needs to be processes and accountability along the way. Dealerships are starting to figure this out now, not about management or the leadership side of things, but they need to understand if you're not going to make money on tires. That's the way they used to think. Well, if I can't make you money, I'm not going to sell them. Well, they think it costs an enormous amount of money. You stock 15 to 20 SKUs of the most common tires, and you when you actually walk around, now there's companies out there, one of which I saw downstairs, where you drive over, it takes a whole video of your undercarriage, it looks at any damage, it knows leaks, it knows, if the linement's off, tire inflation, rotates and balances, tread wear, and it notices all that. This is important in advising and you don't just do it and expect to get it right then. This is something you do 2 or 3 times prior before the time is actually due, letting them know that this is important. And it is. You're talking about the safety of people here. Tires get too worn, they're not properly aired, and then you got people driving around with kids in the car. We need to pay attention to that and focus on that. And as a result, there won't be that defection like there once was. And I think this is what's going on in the market now. Everybody's starting to figure that it's the long game. It's the 4th and 5th and 6th year of the 12 years that they have that vehicle, instead of them going to the non-franchise entities. I'd rather do business at a dealership.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you
Did that
so
answer
much.
your question?
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
good.
And when you were talking about the rollover inspection systems, like I do feel like that establishes trust
amazing.
with the customers.
Yes, it does.
Which is important. Everyone wants to feel like they trust the service advisors.
Think about it. They see this undercarriage and there's 2 or 3 leaks there, instead of you just saying you got a leak and it's going to cost you $800 to fix it. No, they can see it, right? They can see that the brake pads are shot or whatever when they do these video inspections in the shop and stuff like that. This solidifies and it helps a lot at overcoming what used to be, oh, they're just trying to make money. No, as we were talking earlier, you got tens of thousands of Toyota Camrys coming in every day for service all over the United States, different climates, different situations. But it's part of the advisor's job to advise and make recommendations based upon those driving conditions instead of major repairs. So it costs more to properly maintain the vehicle than it does to not do that and then pay for major repairs that come up.
Right.
Customers don't really think that. So we're starting to educate them through video content.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as a consumer, I really appreciate this shift in the industry a little bit, and just like the emphasis on education on the consumer side.
Isn't that important?
It is.
So I'm going to ask you, this is impromptu, do you know the difference between a conventional, a semi-synthetic, and a full synthetic oil change, and why there's a disparity in prices?
Not to take away any of my expertise as an editor of this publication, but I do not.
Well, this is just something as simple as that, but proper tire inflation or alignments and what that actually means. They don't. They think that, well, I can go to Valvoline down the street for $69.95 and get a semi-synthetic oil change. Or for $79.95, you get a full synthetic. Well, what's the difference between the two? And they think, well, it's always cheaper to go to these aftermarket, these non-franchise entities. And actually, most of the time, it's not. It costs you more. But, we trained them to think this way.
Right.
We're taking that back. Oh, sorry about
that. Glad to hear it.
Right.
So obviously, a lot of our discussion today has been about the customer experience and customer retention.
That's right.
I'd love to hear any of your final thoughts about that and what you think are stopping dealers from not getting low-hanging fruit opportunities.
I think that's starting to change. So I read this article many years ago about websites. This is where everybody goes first. They go to their dealership's website to do research and get information, right? You need to provide them information, the right content at the right time with the right message, and making it easy for them to engage the way they want to engage, whether they're 18 or 80. So I think a lot of times people starting to figure out that more is not more, less is actually more. All the stuff that's cluttered and moving things that are happening on a website is actually counterproductive today. Even in a top-level navigation, when you click something up there, you have this long drop-down box, right? Well, dealerships don't know, but about 7 or 8 items in the drop-down, beyond that, you create anxiety. If you don't engage customers by the 3rd click of whatever it is they're looking to find, exponentially the exit rates go up with every click you force that customer to make. Think of our own, we're all online, we're all shopping, so this happens as commonplace. Or how about, so websites are like a dog, like a pet, and most people don't really understand that. Like there used to be, people would change websites every few months thinking, oh, well, this is the big, first of all, nobody's got it all figured out, okay? It just depends. But a pet needs to be played with, needs to be let out, it needs to be watered, it needs to be fed, it needs to be groomed, it needs its shots, so they think they get a website and it does all this and they can take their eyes off it and go back to doing what they not. No, it takes attention, okay? Or you end up with a pet that's going to have a lot of problems. And there's a lot of problems out there with everybody's website pets right now. So I think that there's companies like ours and other companies that make that a lot easier for the consumer. You guys and gals out there, focus on what you want to focus on. Let some of the technology do some of the heavy lifting. It's not necessarily an end-all, be-all. It really just depends. Most people don't even understand or realize today, when you watch some of our videos and you're listening to them, You think it's somebody that dubbed over in the background. It's artificial intelligence. You cannot tell the difference between you and I talking right now and that artificial intelligence in that video. It's just amazing. It's the future. Get on board now, or you're going to be left in the dust in about 5 years.
Absolutely. We couldn't agree more. Thank you, Russell, for joining us today.
Thank you. It's been great.
Our Executive Spotlight guest has been the co-founder and managing partner of FixedOPS Marketing, Russell Hill.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Camille. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.